Hello and welcome to Beyond the Lights, Football Across Texas, where we're talking football in towns with head coaches across the state. I'm your host, Brandon Brown, retired football coach and AD, and I'm glad you could join us today at this week's stop in the Lone Star State as we meet one more coach and one more town that make up the world of Texas high school football.
Favorite run play, I like ISO.
Power. You got to run the power.
Run the picket fence.
So I was hung up in the crow's nest.
My grandfather was the first African-American running back to be All-State.
I was 19 right about the time and went to a church revival and got saved. And that path changed my life. It's about going in there and changing lives.
Mudita, which is finding joy or happiness in others' success.
Now, I got a funny story on this.
Oh, those guys grew up on beans and cornbread. I grew up on McDonald's and bologna sandwiches, a little better deal.
Yeah.
I'd like to play the flute, Dad.
It ain't all right either. You're editing, but go ahead.
So if I tell you too much more, I have to kill you?
All right, before we get to the show, I wanted to update you on some more information on Spiral XO, the football software company that I've been telling you about. I finally had the chance to go through that 30-minute demo, which for me actually took about 50 minutes because I asked a ton of questions. And Justin was awesome in giving me the rundown. And Justin, who's one of the main guys with Spiral XO, is also currently a football coach in the German league, but he's from the U.S., played college ball here too, and but he's coaching over there. So, which actually a funny point is, I think he actually coached against Randy Jackson when he was with the Potsdam Royals. But anyway, it was nice having Justin walk me through because he was actually able to explain it to me as a coach and how he uses the different parts of the program and what he does and doesn't use from all the different parts there are. But anyway, after going through it, I'm not sure, and I know this is a big statement, but I'm not sure this isn't the biggest thing since Huddle. This thing is, it's got so much to it. I definitely think I would have used it if I was still coaching. But it's really cool and has everything you need for your season as far as practice planning, game planning, player and parent communication, playbook, installs, in-game analytics, all of that. And they've made it where things will like automatically do a lot of the stuff as far as reversing routes and everything else, so you don't have to retype everything. And it has tools to actually make your play calling sheets for the games and in-game analytics tools that help you manage the game better too. And all of your breakdown that you do on Huddle when you break down your games can be imported straight into it when you can just import that Excel, because everybody knows how on Huddle you can export an Excel spreadsheet with your stuff. You can import that straight into it so you don't have to retype anything. But there's too much to mention here, so when you have time, go check them out at spiralxo.com. And you can either watch the 5-minute video, or I suggest setting up a 30-minute walkthrough because I got a lot more information from that and a lot better picture of what all it can do. And it's catching on real big in Georgia where these guys are from. That's where the other guy, that's where he coaches. And so anyway, tell them Football Across Texas sent you, and you can get 10% off if you decide to purchase it. But anyway, you need to go check it out. Now, there's a link on my website, but it's easy just to go spiralxo.com. Tell them I sent you, and let's get to the show. All right, hello and welcome to episode 67. I'm in one of those towns today that when you talk about the most storied programs in Texas high school football, this town is always mentioned, and that is Brownwood. And I'm here today with head football coach Jeryl Brixey. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good. It's good to see you again. I hadn't seen each other since 2012, maybe.
Probably 11.
11, yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's been a while since I was at Clifton. You were at Comanche. That was seemed like another lifetime ago, didn't it?
It quickly became a long time ago.
Yeah, it did. It did. Now, so now here in Brownwood, y'all are dropping down to 4A Division 2.
4A Division 2, yeah.
And now you're going to be in that district with Salado and my son and them over there. So what are your thoughts on the new district?
Well, it's we were with Stephenville, Lampasas, Marble Falls, and Burnet, and so that was a competitive district. But we dropped into from one district with a state power to another district with a state power with La Vega, and they're unbelievably good. So I think it's probably very, very similar level of competition. Where it's going to be a fight every week. We got La Vega, Gatesville, Conley, Salado, Robinson, and us, 6 teams. So I think it's a very competitive district. And all in all, I think we probably got the hardest schedule in the state of Texas across the board. You know?
Yeah, but it doesn't bother you to get Stephenville off the schedule.
No,
probably,
they're
does
on
it?
it. I mean,
Oh, you playing in preseason now?
Preseason. I'm
Oh.
saying our whole we scrimmage Brock and Alvarado and play Wiley, Stephenville, Springtown, Graham, and China Spring in non-district. So, you know.
Okay, now that's your setup?
Yeah, well, it seems the game seems like nobody wants to play anybody that might possibly beat them. You know, so finding games against people, if you're a competitive football team, finding games against non-district games against people is really hard.
Yeah, but do you like that? Do you like playing those teams that you know where you're going to stand? By
Well,
the
we
time
know
you
where
get
we're
to
going to
district.
stand, and if we get to district, you know, we could be, you know, ideally you want to be 5-0, but I mean you could be 0-5 or 2-3 or 3-2, you know. But if you can get to district with healthy, and you're going to know exactly where you stand and where you need to improve for sure.
Yeah, no, I like that. I always liked playing teams where I hated getting to district. I can remember a couple of years at Jacksboro, get to district, and you're like, crud, you know, I just now figuring out we can't run the football.
Yeah,
you know, something like that. You hate that. So.
Well, we won't have that issue.
Yeah, no. Okay, well, we always get started the same way. Just give us some background on yourself, where you grew up, what brought you to this point where you are right now.
I grew up outside of Wichita Falls, a little bitty community called Kameh, Texas, which is close to Holiday, Texas. Went to school in Iowa Parkway. When I was a kid, our little school district out there consolidated with Iowa Park because they went broke, and so I ended up going to Iowa Park High School, and then out of that, initially went to Cameron University, and then transferred to Texas Tech and played football at Texas Tech. And G8 at the University of Texas after that, and then bounced around, been Corpus Christi, Ray High School to Appalachian State University as restricted earnings coach, to North Shore High School for 6 years. For the first 6 years, David Amon was there. When we went there, they'd never been in the playoffs, and by the time I left, we had played in the semifinals. And
do you remember what years you were at North Shore?
94 to 99.
Well, my brother was playing against you. He was at Kingwood.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember I went to a Kingwood North Shore game. I'm pretty sure back in, well, wait a minute, 94 to 99. Oh, and I was probably there in 92 or 93 is when I went to the Kingwood North Shore game.
Yeah, that would have been when North Shore still wasn't very good.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. At that time, they weren't. Okay, so that was a little before you were there.
And I left and went to the University of Idaho as offensive line coach, and kind of in a move that I ultimately ended up regretting, and just wasn't a good move for me. And went to Lubbock Estacado and met my wife there, and then Springtown, and then I went to Katy in 04 and was there for 3 years.
So you were at Springtown almost the same time I was at Azle. And I was at Azle from 96 to 2001. You were there with Gary Rushing?
No, I was there in 2003 with Matt Elliott, his first year. Eric Slaughter had just left.
All right.
And Matt got the job, and I went over there.
So Rushing and them had left and went over to Azle. They were all at Azle at that time.
At that time.
Yeah.
And so I left there when Gary Joseph, it was a Saturday, I was in Springtown, and David Amon, who was the head coach at North Shore, called me and said, hey, because I had talked to him about wanting to get back to that level, and he called me and said, Gary Joseph's going to get named the head coach at Katy High School on Monday, and he's going to call you in about 10 minutes and offer you his offensive line job. So that's how I ended up at Katy.
Okay.
And I was there for a year, and then was the offensive coordinator for 2. My first year's offensive coordinator, I had Andy Dalton at quarterback. So, that
not bad.
When I got the job, Andy pouted for about 3 or 4 days because he's a junior coming back, and it wasn't even started. Blows people's mind. Andy wasn't our starting quarterback as a junior. He split time. He started about 4 games for us, but anyway, he and so finally I kind of cornered him. So what's the deal? And he goes, well, the offensive line coach got the coordinator job. Now we're never going to throw the football, because we didn't throw the football very much. And I said, Andy, you got me all wrong. I said, I like to throw the football if we're completing them. I said, you throw them and complete them, we'll call more of them. And he threw for almost 3,000 yards that year, and 44 touchdowns, passing touchdowns. So, and then he went from on nobody's radar that his choices were between Nebraska and TCU. So it worked out well for
Not
him,
bad.
I think.
Not
So,
bad.
in fact, I saw his dad last year or 2 years ago now, a preseason deal, and he's like, "Well, how's our favorite offensive coordinator doing?" just get it worked, and that's what I told him. And I tell our quarterbacks, if we throw them and catch them, we're going to throw more. If we throw them and they land on the ground out there, we're probably going to hand it off.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense.
And so then I went from there to Comanche. Got the head coaching job at Comanche. Spent 5 years there. Good town, good people. But you know how small towns are. There comes a time you need to go, and I went and went to Louisville for 3 years, and then to Euless Trinity for 2 years as offense coordinator there, and then I went back to Katy for the last 8 before I came here a year ago.
Okay, all right. So back out has it been a big change from now? You said your wife's from Eastland. We were talking about that earlier, but has it been a big change for your daughter going from Katy to out in the middle of the country?
Yeah, it has been. I've got an 8th grade daughter. I've got 2 daughters in college, and I've got an 8th grade daughter, and it's been really a lot of change. She's got some good friends that she misses a lot, but she's obviously got some good friends here and has fit in really well. Her number one complaint is places to eat.
You got Underwood still, right?
Got Underwood,
okay.
but she's a huge Chipotle fan, so she's
a
like,
little change.
No
Katy Mills Mall.
No Katy Mills.
Bass Pro Shop.
We were big fans of City Center at Memorial City, so that was, those kind of things are gone. But both of my 2 older daughters graduated from Katy High School, and both of them, my oldest one got into her freshman year. She did everything in junior high. Played every sport in junior high. Even her 8th grade year, her and a friend of hers won the doubles district championship in tennis. And so, but got into high school and did basketball, volleyball, and track for 2 years. And then by her senior year, she focused on basketball, because at that level, unless you're really, really, really athletic, you're going to have to pick some things. And my second one was her freshman year. She did basketball, volleyball, theater, and brigade training, which was the introductory class for the drill team. And so a little bit of everything. And then they told her in the drill team, well, if you can make drill team, which she would, because she was really good at dancing, then that's all you can do. And she said, well, that's not what I'm going to do. So her sophomore year, she did basketball and volleyball and theater. And then, she had a moment where High School Musical moment where she ran from basketball to theater practice in her basketball uniform, and in her junior year, she was going to be on varsity basketball, but she was kind of a mid-range player, and she was wanted to get some leading roles in the theater stuff. And the basketball coach and the theater teacher said, hey, we'll work. It's okay if you miss for the other. Well, a small school like this, we schedule around each other.
Yeah.
Because you got to have the kids.
Yeah.
There, they weren't going to schedule around. It was just going to be, okay, it's okay if you miss for that other thing. And she finally told me, she said, Dad, when I'm at theater, I feel like I'm missing something in basketball. And when I'm at basketball, I feel like I'm missing something in theater. And I said, well, just follow your heart. And she ended up doing just theater. So both of my older daughters ended up only doing one thing because of just the size and the competitiveness of it.
Yeah.
Whereas my youngest one here, I believe, we've got kids here that do, 3 sports, 4 sports.
Yeah.
They do theater, and they do, not that she wants to be theater, but if she wanted to, she could. So in that regard, I think it's been really good for her.
Yeah, no, that is good. That's always an advantage, I think, to some of the smaller schools.
Yeah.
Even just going from really small school where I was at Schulenburg to Fredericksburg, it limited what I've got a daughter in high school there at Fredericksburg now. It kind of limited what she was able to do, because if you won basketball, you're expected to be league basketball year round. If you're in volleyball, you're expected to be league volleyball year round. And she's like, well, I like it, but I don't like it that much. And I'm like, good. We can save some money then.
Yeah, we're doing the league volleyball right now. It'd be nice if that was free.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. Well, okay. Well, coming in here and getting to some athletic questions then. Brownwood being your second head coaching jobs, what are some things that coming in you already knew, okay, I'm going to do these things different than I did when I started my first head coaching job?
The number one thing I did, and I learned that lesson because, you know, I when I went into Comanche from Katie, the two things I did wrong was A, I talked about Katie too much, and B, I expected our kids to be like Katie kids. You know, the work ethic and the level and the commitment and what it was. And when it wasn't, I mean, I was hard on them about it. And there were, and I really created problems for my, and we went 0-10 and you know, while we're going 0-10, you know, where I just left went 16-0. So, you know,
little change.
because you know, the last year I was there, we'd started, I think 9 juniors on offense and 6 juniors on defense, and we're 13-1. So it's like, okay, that's probably going to be a pretty good football team. And so, you know, you just struggling with that and made it all about winning. And when we didn't win, I got frustrated. I was too hard on the kids. So when I left there, we went to Louisville. I went with Greg Miller, who was the defense coordinator. Greg had called me at Comanche and said, "Hey, I need somebody. I'm getting the head job in Louisville. I need somebody that can run this offense." And I said, "Well, how about me? Because I think it's probably about time for a change." And so I went there with him. But I talked to him and kind of talked him through. You know, I'm like what I went through and said, "These are the mistakes I made. Let's don't make them here."
Oh, that's good to be able to do that
and say we can't treat these kids. And so when I got this opportunity, the thing I say I'm not going to do is I very, very, very seldom ever talk about where I came from. I don't measure our kids here against there, and especially I came in. You know, I said the seniors are the senior. They're going to be what they're going to be. And that's you don't have time. I came in middle March, which is not terrible. But when I went into Comanche, it was late April, you know.
Yeah.
So, but your seniors, you know, and I said all I'm going to do with the seniors is I'm going to do the best job I can, just developing a rapport with those kids, and coach them and love them and tell them they're great. Because before you can tell a kid he's not great, before you can tell a kid what you're doing is not good enough, well, you better have a good relationship with that kid.
No, that's true. That's true.
And in reality, 3 months is not enough time to build a relationship with a kid to be that way with them. And so, and I had great senior buy-in. You know, the first thing there's a lot of things that went on here before I got here that I didn't even know about till I was here, about the way the job came open and all that kind of stuff. So there were a lot of hard feelings in the community, a lot of just things going on. And the first thing I said to the kids is, look, you know, I'm just a guy that applied for a head coaching job. I had nothing to do with what went on here before. I don't care what went on here before. Yeah. You know, and so and then going into the season, I didn't make it about winning. I made it about, you know, before we played Wiley, I said, let me tell you about what I want to know coming out of this game. I said, there's two things. There's one thing I already know, and there's another thing I want to know. I said, I already know, regardless of how this game goes, we've got to get better next week. That's what you're going to every week. And I said, what I want to know coming out of this game is we'll play our guts out for 48 minutes. I said it, and I harped on them all year. It's not your job to worry about the scoreboard. It's my job to worry about the scoreboard. You play the next play. You just play the next play. Great. Just made the greatest play you've ever made in your life. That play's over. You got to play the next play. You just had a bonehead play, gave up a touchdown, threw an interception, fumbled the football, missed your block, whatever. That play's over. You got to play the next play. So we focused on playing the next play, playing 48 minutes as hard as you can play it, and focusing on getting better. And so that was my whole mentality coming in here, where when I went into Comanche, I felt like my whole mentality was way too focused on caring about winning.
Okay. No, that's good. That's great advice. And it's interesting you said that about the seniors because you've been around a long time. A common practice is when I go into a new place, all right, the seniors aren't going to help me much because they haven't had time to get to learn my program. I'm going to concentrate on the younger kids. That's a common practice that a lot of people will do, and I always felt so bad. I hope that I never made seniors feel that way at any place I was, but I always felt bad thinking, God, if that's your philosophy, you still want those guys to have a great senior year, and you want them to enjoy it, and you want them to set a good example for the kids under them, and to do that, they have to have some buy-in,
I've said for a long time, I believe that the football team belongs to the seniors. That's their football team, because it's the last time they're going to play football. It's not my football team because I'm going to coach football next year. It's not the underclassmen's football team because they're going to play football next year. Those seniors, it's the last time they're ever going to play high school football. And if you do something as a coach that makes that less than a great experience for a kid, then I think that that's falling short, and that's not doing what we want to do in this profession. Now there are kids that do things that make it less than a great experience for themselves that year.
Yeah.
That that you'll end up having to remove a kid or do what.
But that's
whatever.
on them.
But that's on them.
Yeah.
But I came in. I just said the seniors. There were some talented kids in that senior group, and they really, really were, and they played really great for us this year. One thing about that's made football different is being able to do skills in the summertime, and so you're able to get way ahead of where you used to be able to. So. But I didn't want to be too hard on those kids, but at the same time I wanted to push them. But you get what you can get in as positive a manner. And I'm not a life is rosy type person as a football coach, and I think the kids would tell you that. But I do think you gotta have a kid can take a butt chewing and still walk off the field feeling like he had a positive experience as long as you take care of it in the long run.
Yeah, that's real good advice for any of you guys, especially if you're first-year head coach or something like that. Take that to heart because that's good advice right there. Okay.
Coaches, quick question. What if you could take everything that matters in your program, effort, discipline, attendance, strength and speed gains, and actually put a number on it? Not just stats, but who your guys really are every single day. What type of athlete, student, teammate, and even person they are. That's what we're building with Arena OVR 99. It launches May 1st. It's going to let you track not just performance, but accountability, competition, and real development across your team. But if you want something you can use right now, go to my website, CoachRandyJackson.com, and not only will you find information about Arena OVR, but you'll also see a curriculum for Arena captains and Arena team, anything that will help grow your program, plug and play leadership, and it's all at CoachRandyJackson.com.
So, to our main topic that we're probably wrapping it up this week. This will probably be our last week on this, so you've got to give some really good words of wisdom here on that. But
I'm not sure you came to the right place.
Well, it's been interesting kind of to see because there's, since I was a head coach, there's been some changes on philosophies, on practices, how much contact, how much you're spending in meetings, how much time is in this and that. And just general organizations of practice has changed quite a bit, I'd say in the last, especially in the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. But then we still have a lot of people that are more traditional, with their styles, in their practice layout and their practice scheduling. So here we're going to be talking about in-season practice structure. What does your weekly structure in general kind of look like? And then we'll break it down a little more on maybe daily, kind of how much time you're spending on things.
Mondays are Monday mornings we're going to lift and we're going to do scouting report, introduce, before school, introduce our upcoming opponent, what's some opponent video. In our athletic period, we do special team stuff, which is in the middle of the day. We have our athletics period leads into lunch. because that's the one period they typically don't mess with.
Yeah.
And so, but we will do special teams. We'll do specialty with you practice and the specialty stuff. Then we'll do special teams, and then we'll have some kind of offensive and defensive, either team pass offensively and some type of team time defensively during that 40 minutes. We tried a 2-platoon, where we want our kids playing one way. There is some crossover time in practice, but we try to, during the period, it will just be varsity offense on one end, varsity defense on the other going. Then coming back after school on Mondays and we do some individual stuff, group stuff. Get your running back drills and your quarterbacks and running backs get together, or receivers or whatever. So, and then we'll come back and then we will work what we call a C gap script offensively, and then which is all basically C gap or wider plays and play action passes off of that, and defensively doing the same. A team couple of team sessions there. Then we have a crossover period, which basically is all of the offensive kids going to defense. And so even though we've got offensive kids that didn't get defensive individual, they still get some team time. So they as a primary backup or whatever. So our kids don't get two-way of individual work, but they do get some work on both sides of the football in those crossover times, and would have a crossover time defensively. We start practice in this game, and Gary Joseph at Katy we called it pitch sweep, but we never really ran the sweep's the stretch play, and we never really ran that. But it was really it's really all our downhill running plays, and we just put the ball down on the ground and we start practice with it. Put the ball on the ground, and you got 3 plays to make 10 yards offensively, and you got to make, and it's all run plays, it's all downhill run plays. You put the ball down, offense coordinator standing behind the defense, and he just gives a signal for a play, power, the power play, a pitch play, or the weak ISO, strong ISO, whatever it may be. It's just physical football on the defense. All they know it's a run, and it's live tackle to the ground, smoke show football, and that's how we start practice on Mondays. So
you're starting off with the message of we're going to be intense.
We're going to be intense, and we're going to be physical. And the mentality is there comes a time in a close football game, in a close, hard-fought football game between two good teams, there comes a time in the fourth quarter, probably in some of those games, when everybody in the stadium knows you're fixing to run the football, and you got to go do it regardless of that. And so that's kind of that mentality. And the mentality on the flip side is you've got to be able to stop that when it's happening. So if it's, you go 3 plays and then we'd go with the JVs and then go 3 play, we kind of mix it up, but, and then we'll go through, they'll probably end up running 9 or 10 plays through that type of period. That's just full physical. So we do that to start on Monday. So we practice physically. Everything's thud where you're basically live to not taking them to the ground, but we may everything we do when we get in a team situation is as full speed as we can make it, because I think that's how you play the game. Tuesdays we kind of the same deal. We don't start with the what we call a pitch belly lead period, which is that lead period I was just talking about, but we do the same thing. We have some individual group. We have a crossover time. Our crossover time offensively is goal line. We put the ball on the 3-yard line and we work on plays, our goal line offense, where we're just, our 3-back stuff, the things that we're trying to do that when you get down there, you got to score.
Yeah.
And that's a physical period. That's another basically live period. Live blocking, live, wrap up. I don't want our backs being driven into the ground, but it's live up till turn your feet and stop them.
Yeah.
And so we've got, that's the whole varsity. So it's good on good. We rob kids off the defense, during that time period that for an extra tight end or extra big back or whatever, that's when they get that work. But then the next best defense we can put out there is out there. So we do that period on Tuesday. And then defensively, they have a crossover period also. So those offensive kids get in there, but we have a couple of team periods around that. Practices are really fast paced. Everybody knows where they're going, what they're doing, and it's very routine driven. And at the end of practice, we do a live 3rd and long. So it's just our starting offense versus our starting defense. And we'll run the stuff we've got planned for 3rd and long that week, even though our defense isn't what we're seeing necessarily that week. We're still going to just put our kids in those plays in a live rush, live. The only thing that it's live rush, we're not going to sack the quarterback, obviously, in that. But other than that, it is cut blocking on blitzes, and we put the ball, and we'll go anywhere from 3rd and 7. We have a script that we go up to like 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14, and it's 9-play script of 3rd and long with good on good. So I think the direct result of that, and these are all things I learned coming out of Katy, and we've had to figure out how to make that work at the smaller school level. But your kids, when you go out on Friday night, we played, we played Lampasas, and they scored with 2 minutes and 11 seconds left to take the lead, and our kids went right down the field and scored, and I think it's because of in practice we get live pressure situations on our quarterback, and so our kids have learned to fight their tail off in pass protection and find that one more split second of giving your quarterback time, and our defensive kids have played live 3rd and longs, and they do it all year long. Wednesdays, we lift in the mornings. We're going to this year with our facilities. We lifted right before practice last year, but we're going to lift in the mornings this year because our locker room and facilities things are all getting ironed out finally. We've, as you and I talked about, we've got our facilities have been completely redone here, and they're fabulous. So,
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing get some pictures maybe before I take off.
Fabulous. Can a football coach say fabulous? I don't know.
You just did.
I just did.
Do I need to cut it out?
Yeah, maybe. They're great. They're awesome. So we're gonna lift and then watch video. We spend as much time as we can watching practice video of ourselves. We watch ourselves in practice. We film practice every day, and we watch that practice video with the kids twofold. We want them to know everything you're doing is being watched, so you got to give great effort. And then the second thing is you got to fix the steps and fix it. Well, there's 10,000 things you miss as a coach in practice. But you go back and watch videos. So, we try to make a 20-play cut up or whatever for our kids from practice and say, hey, these are things that we need to focus on getting better at. And then during the athletic period, we'll do red zone perimeter, and then we'll do clock offense, red zone perimeter, and then a team pass period. And defensively, they're working a team pass periods. They're working blitz drills. They're working what they call, rack, which is basically reaction and keys and reading and keys. So they're it's a lot of split time for our kids, and then we also spend a lot of time with our underlevel kids, probably more than what a lot of people do. Our underlevel kids, which showed this year our JV kid group went from being basically awful at the beginning of the year to we fumbled the ball on the 3-yard line against Stephenville. We lost 10-7 and fumbled the ball at the end of the game on the 7-yard going in, or our JV kids would have been district champions. So they came a long way. So then Wednesday afternoon we come back and it's all team. It's all basically crossover team. So it's we got 30 minutes of defensive team, and the JV's down on the other end working offense, and then we got 30 minutes of offensive team, then some special teams review and those type of things. So
So that team there, sorry to interrupt, that team there, are you going against your JV?
No,
Oh,
at
it's
that
just
team,
still
it's all. That's what we call a crossover time, where it's our crossover time. All the varsity kids are together.
Okay.
So that's 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 a little less physical. We're half pads but we
Okay, it's half pads. There.
So it's trying to give the best look we can scout team wise and the fastest, so we can get the best look offensively, the best for our defense, and then the best look defensively for our offense. And we have, we'll have
So you're going 30 minutes of O, 30 minutes of D.
Yeah.
And the JV's off getting their
doing
homework.
their
Okay,
30
okay,
minutes
I
of
got
O
you.
and D on the opposite side. And then on Thursday mornings we do another goal line offense. We had to do a goal line defense session, a recognition session on defense, and then we go do a goal line session on offense, and really more just like a thud. It's more almost like a walkthrough level.
Yeah.
Back on that day, and then we do personnel review and hurry up field goal, which is something that we end the week with. And then Thursday afternoon we just bring them back, and myself and the defense coordinator will take the offense. We'll watch practice video from Wednesday on after school on Thursday, and then a little opponent video if we have time, and then get ready to play on Friday.
All right. Wait, and something that kind of stood out to me in there is you are intentionally making that conscious effort to scatter out through there all of your situational stuff that you'll see throughout the week. Instead of just having one period of situational stuff, you've got a special teams thing here, you've got another third and long stuff here, you've got your goal line stuff here, you've got it kind of scattered out and segmented
for
through
sure.
the week.
Because we want to make sure we hit them. We want to make sure they if they're not scheduled, if they're not scheduled in, and you're not intentional about practicing those things, they become an afterthought. And when they become an afterthought, a lot of times they get left out. So the situations that you have to, if you want to be a champion, you're going to have to thrive in third and long. If you're going to be a champion, you're going to have to stop people in the red zone, or you're going to or inside the 3-yard line. And we had a couple of big goal line stands this year, and where it's first down inside the 3, and we make a stop, and vice versa. You get the ball down there inside that 5. You better come away with points. We try to be very situational in how we practice. We practice. There's times where we practice just team pass, which is our drop backs and our draws and the screens, or everything's real. It's never just go out and run plays. Never. And I know there are people that go out on practice field without even having anything scripted. And it's like, wow, how do you do that? I mean, everything we do is down to the play and the defensive front and the blitz and the, it's going to be very detailed.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I know I have heard some, and I think it's more at the college and pro level where you have all day to do your stuff, where the offensive coordinators will say, so no, I don't want a script out there because I need to practice being in the zone of calling. It's like, okay, well, that's great. You probably don't have a script for a certain section of your practice at your 8 hours, or whatever you got. But we can't, in high school, you've got to be much more specific to make sure you get this play run this many times, this play, to get your looks.
Well, I think I've called, I did the math, over 300 varsity high school football games. So
that's a lot.
So if I probably don't need to go practice that.
Yeah, probably right. It'll come to you probably. Okay. Well, so that's all the questions on that part of it. But let me ask you this: does your practice scheduling change throughout the year as you progress deeper into the season?
I'd love to say yeah, but no. When we got into playoffs, you're not practicing. Honestly, we still did because of the way we moved up a bunch of kids for the playoffs. We had probably close to 80, dressed out on the sideline. We moved some freshmen up and all those. Well, because we still practice our defense at times, those crossover times, we practice those JV and freshman kids down on the other end, still running team and everything with those kids because it's extra practice with those kids, and it keeps them involved and makes them not feel like they're just out there to be cannon fodder,
Yeah.
But we shortened periods some, but it's hard to decide on this is, I guess the feeling, and I learned so much from Gary Joseph, and one of the things that in the interview for this job that I think resonated with him is, I told him when I went to Comanche, when I first time I went to Comanche from K the first time, and I had been with Gary 3 years, and I'd learned, the organization, all that, and how hard you got to work. And we got better every year. We got better every year. And year 3, we're 9-3, lost by a point in the second round of the playoffs, and then we went down. And the thing and then this time I was Gary for 8 years, and so the secret I learned this time around is you can't ever think you're good. I mean, I tell people in 2021, we in the regular season we averaged 507 yards and 51 points a game.
Golly.
And for the we lost to Westlake in the semifinals. We were 14-1 that year, and they beat us like a drum. But there's a lot of college coaches say that might be the best high school football team they've ever seen, that 21 Westlake team. And but for the year we averaged like 487 yards and 49 points a game. And you'd have thought we sucked with Coach Joseph, because you come back and it's always, we meet in the spring, we did that here and look at what we'll spend a lot more time looking at what we didn't do well than what we did well. Because you don't got to get good at the things you do good.
Yeah.
You got to get good at things you don't do well. So you'd walk out of those meetings sometimes feeling like, God, we suck. But, so that mentality is, and he's always pressing and never, the people say that, that guy's all gas, no brakes. Well, Gary's not all gas, no brakes. Gary's just all gas. He doesn't even ease off on the accelerator, And so people say, well, why have they been the way that they've been the way they've been? Because of that, the expectation never wavers, and looking for every way you can, every stone, turn over every single little stone you can turn over to find some way to get an advantage. And so everything you do, there's a point to why you're doing it, and they're doing it the way you're doing it. Well, if it's that well, based on your belief that all those things are important, well, then when you make the playoffs, how do you decide, okay, well, this thing's maybe not as important anymore. Maybe we can cut back here. Well, if it's as important as you think it is, and you can cut back now, why have you been doing it all along?
Yeah, no, that's true.
So it's hard to find, we'll try to cut a minute here, a minute there, but not much changes.
I see a lot of people do that with the weight room. Well, now that we're to the playoffs, we're going to back off on the weight room. It's like, wait a minute, so you're going to be weaker at the end of your the very end than you were at the before? I never understood that. But no, that's good philosophy and good advice. Okay, so let's move on then to the rapid fire questions, which aren't really rapid fire, they're just shorter. Okay, what's the most unusual situation you've encountered as a coach?
I don't know. Having a guy show up to one of your junior high coaches' houses with a shotgun because the guy went fishing with his wife. I don't know.
Oh, God. Oh, that's got to have a story behind it.
Yeah, fishing in quotation marks. I don't know. It's just craziness year in and year out. I don't know that, because the minute you find something's unusual, then something else is going to come along and be more unusual.
Well, I remember something unusual with one of your deals, and I'm not going to say the names because I'll eventually probably go interview him, but you had a coach show up to play at your place in Comanche and cranked the music up super loud in the locker room and started something because it was so loud y'all couldn't even hear in your own. Well, because of that happening, and you told me about it at your place, when that team came to our place, I flipped off the breakers for all of the receptacles in their locker room. And their coaches came going, "Oh, we can't get any plugs to work." Well, I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong. I have no clue.
That's funny.
I flipped them all off so that they couldn't have any power for their speakers because of what you told me they did in your place.
Yeah, we got heated, so I think we threw 7 touchdown passes that night on something like that.
Yep, y'all did. I remember talking to you about that, and I was like, God, I'm glad he gave me a heads up. So
yeah, I guess that those kind of things that people do. It's like, that's the way old golden rule: go do unto others the way you want them to do it.
Yeah.
Do you want me coming to your place and doing that?
Yeah. I know.
And I don't know. I spent a lot of time just, you deal with kids, and so there's going to be so many things that are out of the norm or are just crazy. So, if I had a good memory, I could probably write a heck of a good book.
Oh yeah, I bet you could. All right. Well, okay. What's your favorite pass route?
Our ex-receivers, in all honesty, throughout my career, going back to early in Katy, because have probably got 5,000 yards on a simple 14 to 12 comeback on the outside, what we call a 2 route, and so if somebody says, we had a kid in at Katy the first time named Michael Fuda, and he had his junior year was Andy Dalton's senior at quarterback, and Michael had like 1,400 yards receiving that year and 19 touchdowns, I think. And of that 1,400 yards receiving, there's probably 700 yards of it on that route, because it's a fade route, and you get it, and the corner turn is going to turn and run, and unless they got help underneath, if you got a quarterback that can throw it, it's impossible. And then when I was at Comanche, we had a little receiver named Cody Biggs, and we had a defensive coach that would always, if it's something, he said, just run that, throw it to Biggs play, y'all run. Our D-line coach would say, and because same deal is it just that same route. So through the course of my career, probably if you say, okay, what's a go, that's certainly probably been the go-to route as far as just an individual route.
Well, some of the simplest routes are still by far the best. Yeah. The out route.
Yeah.
I mean, Randy Jackson used to have what he called his GO route for get open. And all it was anywhere from like a 8 to 12 or 13 yard out route, and you just got outside released, and as soon as that DB opened his hips, you sank yours and broke out. And how do you stop those when your quarterback, like your comeback? How do you stop it when the quarterback and the receiver have good chemistry on that stuff? That is so hard.
We played in 05. We played Smithson Valley in the semifinal, and I don't remember their corner's name, but I think he ended up in the NFL for a little while, and they knew it was coming. And that, but Michael was super fast, and then Andy could throw it on a dime, and so I mean the ball they're running around when the receiver, if you throw it right when the receiver breaks and his head comes around, the ball's already there.
Yeah,
and especially at the level that of a quarterback like Andy was. So I mean. That kid was maybe the most frustrated I've ever seen a kid, because he would be right there. I mean, he's coming, and it's just outside and just over and over and over again. And it's like that kid was like unbelievably frustrated, like just how do I stop this? So if you got a kid that can really throw it in the receiver, then like I said, unless you've got cover 2, it's not good against cover 2, and if you're going to cover 3 and get an outside defender out there, but he's got to get out there.
Yeah. All right. What's your favorite run play?
Oh, I don't know. Probably, in all honesty, stretch. Just if you got a good fast kid that can run it and has a feel for it, we've probably run the weak side ISO a lot. And,
I love weak side ISO.
Yeah, and then counters in every way you can run them. I mean, in all honesty, we pull a tackle, we pull the fullback. We in times could pull the running back and let the quarterback run it. So all the gap scheme plays, and then getting the ball outside on the edge.
Yeah.
It's really it's my favorite play is what's working. I mean, we had a coach on our staff at Katy, and he said, in he would say over and over and over, it's not a weakness if you don't exploit it. And so, I think that is what why is he running that play again? He's running that play 9 times. Well, he's
average 6 yards a
carry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, yeah. So most of the time when we get plays like you come out there wishing you had run them more. We played in 17 we played Lake Travis in the semifinal in a freezing. Well, our offense, our coaches tell me it was freezing. I was in the press box, but
that's nice.
freezing rain in Alamo Stadium. It was awful, and we weren't prepared for it. And they had pop-up tents and their sideline jackets and all that, and we had none of that. And our kids were standing in the freezing rain, just miserable. And but they couldn't cover a play-action pass with a fullback in the flat, because they would play with one roll down. They'd play a 4-2-5, but they wouldn't have a weak side flat player a lot. And we would just check this play-action pass and put the fullback out where there's no flat player. And we did it probably 6 times, and it was a big play every time. And then we lost the game 28-21, I think. And the thing I kicked myself in the rear end for is because, we ran it 6 times. We should have ran it 16 times because they didn't have an answer for it. And so if you find somebody that doesn't have an answer for what you're doing, do more of it. You know, and so what's my favorite run play? I like to run this play. But if we find something that's working, we're going to wear it out.
Don't overthink it. It's working.
No.
Use that one. Yeah. No, that's good. All right. Do you have a hair policy with your kids?
We do. It's their hair's not supposed to be past their collar, and then they're supposed to be clean shaven, and so. Our community supports it. I know they don't, and they want it. My gut feeling, I worked at we're in Louisville, and my wife, Christy, and I, we went to watch Trinity and Odessa Permian play at Ratliff Stadium, and I ended up at Euless Trinity, but I had no idea at the time that I was going to be there. And we went and watched them, and we're watching them up there, and I'm watching, and Trinity's got this linebacker, and he's the Tongan kids. They got that hair out everywhere, and I'm like, I told my wife, I just don't know if I can get used to the hair. I just don't know. I said, I just don't know. I don't really like all that hair. And we're sitting there watching that kid. Maybe about like the next play, he just blows somebody up. And my wife said, "Oh, I bet you'd get used to it."
Yeah.
So I think it's got to be cultural and not just cultural community, And so it's really, honestly, I don't really care, but what we set as a policy needs to be enforced. I can't stand coaches that you set a policy and then they don't want to be the bad guy, so they don't want to enforce it.
I hate that.
And so when your kids move from, well, in this sport you have to have short hair and be clean shaven, but you move over here to this sport and it's got, so we've got a sport to sport. We've got a program policy, not a sport policy.
No, that's good.
And so And if we ever decide we're going to change it, I don't care. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's not collar link because it's what I want. It's collar link because that's what the community wants, and it's clean. If they don't care, if the voice we get from our board is they don't care. Honestly, it doesn't. Right. I mean, if you're gonna have a beard, trim it up. Don't look like a mountain man.
You're still representing.
Yeah, you're still representing your program. School be neatly trimmed, but have your don't look like you just fell out out of the wagon or whatever. But don't look like a bum. But
well, hey, tell me this: when you were at Trinity, did y'all do the haka?
Yeah, it's actually called the sippy towel.
Oh, well, where's the haka?
It's called the haka for every people. Just says the haka, but the haka is Maori, and most of those kids are Tongan, so they call it the sippy towel.
Sippy towel.
And
the haka sounds cooler than the sippy towel.
So, but if you call them Samoan, they'll tell you we eat Samoans. Jokingly. Excuse me, but so that's what they called it there. The sippy towel. Everybody calls it the haka, but that's not what they call it there. But it's the cool part, and it's really cool.
Oh, it's awesome to watch
when you know what the words mean, because it's all about faith and family and love in each other and brotherhood and all that stuff. It looks like it's this vicious war thing, but it's really about family and kinship and really fighting for your brothers and all that kind of thing. So
that's cool.
So it's really pretty cool.
Now, why is there that big a Tongan population in Trinity?
It started. They brought a bunch of for airport baggage handlers because they were big and strong. And so that's basically where they settled.
Oh, that's crazy.
And the Tongans are all the Polynesian people, but most of my interaction was with the kids. They were Tongan, so they're very family oriented. They're very community oriented. So that's why they all kind of settle together in the same place. And so you've got a lot of those kids there that are.
Oh, that's cool. I always wondered that because when I was coaching in Fort Worth, we played over in that area every once in a while at the what's the big Pennington Field. Yeah, we played at Pennington a few times when I was at Azle, and then again when I was in Fort Worth, kind of thing. And but it was like legendary over there. The Trinity School. So
yeah, that's it. They're fun kids. I always said that. The Tongan girls are just like the boys. I mean, and if there was ever a group of people that were built for a sport, I mean, you'll see one of those kids and you'll think he weighs 240 pounds, and you'll ask how much you weigh, 280, and it's like they're more dense.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's like they're big, strong, fast, and mean. Not mean, but I mean as football players. Yeah. And so I always said the UIL mandated that we had to have girls play football, and X number that Trinity would kill everybody because those girls were tougher than the boys.
Well, and people don't realize that a lot of time when you talk about an athlete. My youngest son, I always said, was dense because, you push me, you go over there and push me with one hand, I'm going to give quite a bit. You go push him and it pushes you the opposite way. It's just, body types and that density, pounds per square inch, kind of thing. It's just, or per cubic inch, however you would say it. It's definitely a difference in athletes.
Yeah, for sure.
When you hit the two different types.
And those kids, that was the term I always used. They're dense. They're 20 or 30 pounds heavier than what they look like they are.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. I was always kind of wondering that about Trinity, so now I know. All right, heads or tails on a coin flip?
Heads. I think I was the numbers I got to call this year was I think I called like 6 or 7. Anyway, I think I got them all but one. So I don't know. I may go tails next year just to switch it up.
Well, it's working.
Yeah.
If it's working with heads, don't
but if
change
everything's supposed to be 50-50.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think last year's coin flips have no bearing on next year's coin flips.
That's probably right.
Probably the last coin flip has no bearing on the next coin flip.
Okay, so if you do win it, do you like to go offense first, or you like to defer?
We defer.
Okay.
This, I've spent my entire career as an offensive coordinator, offensive coach, and have always jokingly said, I don't want to coach defense because I don't want to coach something that the better I get at it, the less I get to do it. So which is defense. I always give defensive coaches a hard time. I say, your whole sport is you don't want to play. You go on the field trying to get off the field.
It's a good point.
And so just jacking with defensive coaches is you're like, you gripe if you got to play more than 3 plays. We want to play 12 or 15 or and but we are a defense first program. We're going to put our very best players on defense and go play great defense. And statistically speaking, the opening drive of a game is not going to end in scores very often anyway. And so I'm going to put what we consider our bread and butter on the field as much as we can. Plus, it gives you the opportunity, if things fall right, it gives you the opportunity to close out the first half with a score and get the ball coming out the second half and possibly open the second half. And that's the whole middle 8 minutes that's the big buzz in football for the last handful of years.
Yeah.
That they got to win the middle 8. Well, you win the middle 8, you might want to have that football.
Yeah. No, I've been hearing that a lot more. Okay. Pre-game speech. You give one?
Not typically. No, I'm kind of a Hayes in the barn type guy. If you. In fact, one of the things I talk to our kids, I don't believe football's a momentum game. I don't believe football's an emotion game, because you go out and you get them all hyped up, boom, boom, and you go out and that hype lasts for about 2 minutes, and then they're going to settle down and they're going to play the way you practice every day. And so, we just hit some points and talk to them about, go back and talk to them and reiterate about not worrying about the scoreboard, about playing just the things we talk about all the time. We just reiterate those going into the game, and I'm not a big pregame speech guy. It's just I just thoroughly believe that you play the way you practice, and we're going to work our tails off in off season. We're going to learn how to work hard, play hard, go hard all the time, and we're going to work knowing what we do, and then we're going to go play the game.
I like that. I like it. Do you have a favorite quote you like to use with the kids?
The play the next play we use all the time. The one thing that I used a lot and I just used with our kids the other day is winning is found in the margins. And everybody does the big things. Everybody's in the weight room. Everybody's does, but you've got to do the things on the edges that everybody else is not doing. And then when you play the other people that are doing that are also playing the margins, then you got to find even another thing. And again, going back to what I talked about with Gary Joseph, was just the idea of everything you can do to give your kids a chance to be successful. And then you have to look at it, and you have to look in detail about what you're doing, and about is it making you better? What are you not doing? Where do you need to get better at? Why, if this thing's not working, why isn't it working? And you can't just show up every day and clock in and clock out and say, well, we did off season today, or we did what. You better have a focus and intent about everything you're doing, and then looking as hard as you can to find some other way to get an advantage. So just the winnings found in the margins thing is something that we used to use a lot, and I, for the first time, started talking to our kids about the other day, but it's something I think we're gonna harp on a lot. I'm gonna say this time I'm gonna get on a little. I've got 2 quotes I hate. I despise the quote, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Oh, yeah.
Coaches say that. I mean, you're telling me, so you're going to stand up in front of a bunch of kids and you're going to tell them every day about how much character counts and about how much that you've got to do things the right way and all that. And then you're going on the field and teach them how to hold in pass coverage, or teach them, or we're going to teach you how to hold, against a pass rush because if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah.
But, I'm a spirit of the game guy. I really am. I think, and I think in the long run, it pays off. I tell people we charted 8 years. I was at Katy and before I came here, and I said we looked at everything with our one offense, but in 8 years, our one offense, our offensive line, our number one offensive line in 8 years got, I think it was like 6 holding calls.
Golly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because I did not tolerate holding. If I saw holding in practice, first of all, our offense philosophy is take them where they want to go faster than they want to get there and make them get ground to do it. We don't try to.
That's a good philosophy right there. I like that.
The only time we're trying to keep you from going somewhere is in pass protection. Other than that, in our run game, we're not trying to keep you from going anywhere. If you want to go there, let's go there. But we're going to go there faster than you want to go there. We're going to run our feet. We're going to do those kind of things. So if I see you pulling a guy's jersey, why are you pulling his jersey? Because if you're pulling his jersey, you're trying to keep him from going somewhere, and that's not our philosophy. Why aren't you pushing him and shoving him past the hole? So that philosophy is in that, and so. If you are teaching your kids to hold and they get a holding penalty and you get mad at the official for throwing the flag, they ought to throw it every play.
Yeah.
So I think that's a real, that's one of them. And the other one, in all honesty, the other old, it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmys and Joes. Well, if that's the truth, if that's what it is, and it's not the X's and O's, but it's not the Jimmys and Joes, it's both of them.
Yeah.
If all it was who has the best athletes, it's all right. Well, let's just run 40s and measure and test them in the weight room, and then we'll call the winner out of that. It's how well you can get your Jimmys and Joes to do the X's and O's.
Is that a new quote right there?
I don't know.
Hold on, that may be the new quote. It's how well you can get your Jimmys and Joes to do the X's and O's. There you go. You just made the new quote of the century right there.
I don't, and all the things that go with that, the weight room and the agility and the speed and the things that and how well they can do those X's and O's. But and people are going, I spent 11 years of my career at a place that we had, in all honesty, average 6A athletes, but we didn't have average 6A football players because it was, they were, the sum was, the sum was better than the parts.
Yeah.
It's just, when I came, one thing, you got offensive linemen, everybody wants a 6'5", 280 offensive lineman, but how often do you get those?
Yeah.
And give me a 5'11", 240-pound kid that'll work his tail off. We'll have a good lineman, or even 220, 230. It doesn't matter if they'll work hard and get after it. So I think sometimes we as coaches like to build excuses for ourselves. Oh, well, I just didn't have the, well,
yeah.
And not that there's not times that it's not like that, but your talent's going to ebb and flow. Is your success going to ebb and flow? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's true. Okay, music in the weight room?
Yeah.
Any particular kind you like?
Well, we have Metallica Monday, Tejano Tuesday, Western Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, and Five Finger Friday, which is death metal. So
that's great. That's great.
So that's honestly what we call them. And so I
like that.
So it's and we've got a workout program that's on our TVs that have horns and buzzers and all. So it's all kinds of noise going on, and so we got timers on so our coaches are coaching. I want us to be loud. I want it to be energetic, and so I mean, as loud as you can get it.
All right, good. Varsity player in the band, do you let them march at halftime?
I've never had that issue come up, but absolutely. We'll catch him up on the sideline, and I had a kid in Comanche that played through football through his junior year. And his senior coach, I'm not going to play football. Well, why? Well, I really want to march at halftime. I said, you can march at halftime. You've never told me you wanted to. But I think he was really just kind of burned out because that didn't solve the situation. So he still ended up not playing.
He thought that excuse was going to work.
But I mean, I don't. I preach all the time. I want our kids to do everything, and my children did as much as they could. So I'm not saying what we do at halftime is not important, because it is, but you can take one kid or two and catch them up on the sideline about what you talked about at halftime if you need to.
Yeah.
If that's something they want to do, I'm certainly going to facilitate, not stand in the way of it.
All right. Good deal. Favorite 3 lifts in the weight room?
I guess I'm old school, bench squat and power clean.
Yeah. Do y'all still do full power clean?
Yeah, we do. I don't,
I like it.
I tell people this. I've seen guys that were really good bench press guys that weren't very good football players. And I've seen guys that were really, really good squat guys that weren't very good football players. I've never seen a great power cleaner that wasn't a great football player.
It's all about the movement.
It's that explosive movement, the technique and the technique it takes, and the guys that are up there in the power cleans. You can pretty much write down that kid's, because it takes a little courage to power clean too.
Yeah.
To power clean heavyweight, and so I think for the most part, those kids that can move that bar on power clean, they're going to be a good football player.
Well, and that's the way I always said about throwers, because people would say, "Oh, that kid, he benches 400. He ought to be able to shot put at 55 feet." I said, "Yeah, but he only power cleans about 220."
Yeah.
I said, so if he can't explosively move that weight, he can't be a thrower in track.
And if tell me what sports you don't need to be explosive in your hips in. Golf. I mean, you bet if you're explosive in your hips in golf, you're probably about to hit that golf ball always. Baseball, basketball, you name it. And so, I mean, we do a lot of things. We do a lot of variations. We do, but they're going to come back and they're going to revolve around those 3 lifts.
I like that. Favorite agility exercise?
I mean, we vary those a lot. We do our mat drills are very as a bit of a mental toughness thing, but we spend a lot of time in all kind of different 6 different kinds of mat drills and learn how to move on the mats and get up and get down. That's the big thing. Drills. Get off the ground, get down on the ground, get up off the ground, get down on the ground. Because in football, you're going to get knocked down. But how fast can you get up and go?
Yeah.
And so. And that habit, but we do in our testing, we do an agility drill that we did in Katy, where it's a 10-yard tire square. There's one in the middle that you have to run a path around these tires, and it's basically a great time is sub 12 seconds. And I like it because you kids have to slow down, accelerate, slow down, accelerate, slow down, accelerate. So
yeah,
and it kind of gives you an idea of that. But we do cone drills, we do L drills. Years ago, I learned, and we called it. I'm very imaginative in my drills. I call it the Nebraska drill because I learned it from Nebraska. But excuse me, just a second.
Yeah,
got a little cough going on here.
Turkey. I throw out a weird word, then I can go back and it finds it. It finds it for me that fast, and I just cut out the gap.
Cool. Sorry about that.
No, we good.
But where you got your cones are on a line about about 5 yards apart, and they just do a right-hand turn around one cone where they actually have to put weight on their hand and extend their feet, not just touching. And you do a right-hand turn, left-hand turn, touch the cone and back pedal. So you see all these different get down, get up, get down, get up. So, we try to vary all those. We do quick foot ladders, we do running ropes, we do box jumps. So, I mean, I don't think there's any one that
you like varying them a lot.
For sure. Just, because it's varying muscle groups and all those kind of things.
Yeah. No, those are good. I like those movement ones like that too, where they're having to get up and down. And are you a conspiracy theory person?
Some of them have some validity, I think.
What's one you think's got some validity?
Area 51, I think's probably got some validity.
There's something going on.
Something going on out there, yeah, for sure. I don't know. I don't want to get into politics. I think there's a lot of conspiracy theories in politics that probably have some root in the truth. Of them. I think there was more to the Kennedy assassination than the official story.
That's a big one, and I've been meaning to watch. I know there's some new stuff that have came out since they released more files on it. I know there's some new documentary stuff that came out. I need to watch some of that because I was kind of curious.
Well, to me, the whole deal that pivots on Jack Ruby and killing Lee Harvey Oswald, that's not something somebody's going to do unless they're for whatever reason paid, or there's a motivation to shut that guy up.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And if he's a lone nut, you don't need to shut him up.
True. Good point. Yeah. Okay. Do you listen to podcasts?
I do not. I'm going to listen to this.
You got to listen to this one.
I'm going to start listening. I don't listen to myself. I don't like listening to myself.
Yeah. I don't listen to these after I do them either.
I do a radio show every week. My wife listens to. I said, just tell me if I say something stupid.
And she'll be quick to do that.
So, I think I may look. I'll start listening to yours just because I don't want to listen to my own on here, but for sure. There
you go. That's the right answer. You start listening to this one.
That may be interesting stuff.
Well, that's what I started this one out thinking. Okay, this is mainly going to be just talking about the coaches themselves. And then my son kept telling me, I want to hear more football. I want to hear more of this and that. And so that's like a coaching buddy of mine down at Natalia had asked. He said, man, he goes, I'd like to hear some ideas on people's practice planning, kind of how they do some of their practice planning and this and that. And I said, that'd be a good series to do. So that's why we're doing this one. And my son's like, oh, good. It's more football stuff,
Yeah.
So, but there you go. Good. Yeah. You can start listening to this one. All right, if you could change one rule in football, what would it be?
I would do away with the ejection for targeting on the first one.
I keep thinking that they're going to revisit that pretty quick because I have not talked to one coach that thinks that's not just the stupidest thing ever.
Well, at the college level, you get replay.
Yeah.
And so we had an ejection this year, and it was a bam play for targeting, and we lost our big hitter in the secondary, and you go back and you watch it and you slow-mo it like they were doing replay. It hits a straight up clean shoulder to chest shot. And it was a big hit. I mean, it turned that kid over, but it was our kid's shoulder into his chest. There was no head involved at all on either player. But they called it a flagrant, and not, they have the flagrant and the non-flagrant. The non-flagrant targeting, they're not, if you got to get two of those, but I don't think there should be an ejection for the first time that happens, because there's human error in that, and a kid pays a price because you saw it out of the corner of your eyes and you think maybe that was targeting, and since it was a really hard hit, well, that's flagrant. Well, but he wasn't.
And that's a UIL deal, right?
Yeah.
UIL can reverse that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So if anybody with UIL's listening, change the dang thing. Crap.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it.
No.
And nobody, you can't defend it either. I mean, if you're trying to say, oh, well, we got to do, no, you can't defend that.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's too much chance of human error to totally screw a kid.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that.
And you still get, and I'm all for it, okay? Even if that targeting would have stood, even if it wasn't targeting, at least we can say, dude, you got one. You're going to have to, even if it's,
yeah, you got to be real careful.
You're going to have to pass it up. You're just going to, you can't be laying the wood back there.
Yeah, like you got 4 fouls in basketball. You got to be careful.
You got to be careful. Yeah, that is bar none my least favorite rule in football.
I'm with you. All right, what would you do if you weren't a coach?
I found when my parents when I was in 7th grade, I'd written a deal I wanted to be a forest ranger. Oh, and that years later I found it, and I was like, when you kind of forget what you want to be in 7th grade,
Yeah.
And I think probably it's something like a forest ranger, game warden, something like that.
Yeah.
Would have been, because I still love the mountains. I still love.
You a hunting fishing guy?
I'm a hunting guy. I don't have patience to fish. I need to see it.
Yeah.
And
wait a minute. You don't have the patience to fish, but you have the patience to go sit in a stinking stand in the freezing cold weather, hoping something walks out there.
I don't have to keep casting and reeling and casting and reeling.
But at least you're getting to do something. You're sitting up there I can never hunt because I can't stand sitting in a stand.
I don't mind that. I don't. Watching but just I like catching. I don't like fishing. It's kind of like throwing passes. I like completing passes. If I can throw that out there and catch a fish, then pretty much every time I throw it out there, then I do.
Then you're good.
But I'm not real big on fishing.
All right. Do you have a pro or a college coach that you look up to or that you like to get info from and pay a lot of attention to?
We went and visited. When I was at Katy, we went and visited Charlie Crist and the Wisconsin staff when they were there, and I loved what they did. And we took a lot of stuff from bunch sets and multiple tight end stuff through those guys, and they spent a bunch of time with us, our offense staff, and they really, really, really kind of catered to us. We went to Nebraska and Matt Rule and what they're doing there offensively. I love watching the Detroit Lions, what they're doing offensively. I tell people, if you want to know what our offense aspires to be, watch the Chargers. The multiplicity, the under the center, in the gun, bunch sets, spread sets, using a bunch of tight ends, big body guys, and the passing game out of that. So I watch all those guys because that's kind of where I am in. And that goes as far as probably my favorite college coach all time, just dealing with, was Mac Brown. Man, he had a gift of making you feel like you were important. I mean, just whether you were or not, he's great with name. Somebody says, "Hey, what would be a one gift you could get from a coach?" Mac Brown can meet you one time and remember your name.
Oh, cool.
Forever. And I got to know him when I was coaching at North Shore. They were recruiting our kids there, and I worked their camp and did all those things. And I had told my wife when we first got married, he was still at UT, and I told my wife I know Mac Brown, and we were talking about so when I go to coaching school, and I hadn't seen him probably in 2 or 3 years. And we're at coaching school. We're walking through we hadn't been married long, so your wife still goes into the exhibit halls with you when you're newly married, And so we're walking through the exhibit hall, and there's Mac, Coach Brown, and some of the Texas coaches stand there, and I walk by, and I'm just, "Hey, Coach, how's it going?" And he goes, "Hey, Jeryl, how you doing?" And I mean, just like
that impressed your wife, didn't it?
And we walk away. She says, "You really do know Mac Brown," and really, and I wasn't any more important than anybody else. But it's a gift, man. And he makes you feel. He made you feel like you were important, whether you were or not. So I think I always kind of admired him for that.
That is cool. That is cool. All right, do you have a favorite pregame song?
Well, here it's "Welcome to the Jungle" that's going to get played. That's going for sure. No, I have throwbacks when I hear Boston because it's was the
they got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, when I was playing at when I was playing at Texas Tech and we'd be on road games or whatever, you know, the old Walkman days.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I had that album or cassette, and that's what I'd listen on the way to the stadium or whatever. But as far, you know, I don't have anything to do with the music. The kids play it. You know, I
Yeah.
said, you know, as long as it's playable in public, we can play it. But
Yeah.
so
No, I got you. Favorite sports movie?
As a kid, it was All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise, you know, for multiple reasons. But I watched Draft Day for the first time probably 6 months ago with Kevin Costner, and I really liked that movie.
Okay.
I don't know if you've never seen it. It's to me, of course, Kevin Costner's responsible for many of the best sports movies made, but I do think that's the latest one that I've enjoyed a lot.
Okay. And last question, favorite movie quote. Do you have a favorite quote from a movie?
Wow, favorite movie quote. Not off the top of my head. I had one, and then "We'll Be Back" by Schwarzenegger. No, not really. The original Rooster, not True Grit.
Yeah.
You know,
Rooster Cogburn.
When he said, I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man. I always say that one, you know. And so, you know, just, I don't know. I spit movie quotes out all the time, and then I have to explain to the kids the movies that they
because they're sitting there like,
because
what?
they like, what? And then they don't even know the movie. So I'm like, okay. So I actually will incorporate movie clips in my video sometimes to show or pull it up in a meeting just to say, oh, here's the clip. Here's what I say all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
here's why I
what's
say it.
from.
Here's what it's from. And they're like, oh, okay. Now it's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Coach, that's all the questions I got. I appreciate you taking the time to visit with me. I hope I didn't keep you too long.
Well, I don't know. I don't think you did.
All right. Well, good deal. Well, all right. Thank you for joining Coach Brixey and I today here in Brownwood. I hope you enjoyed getting to know a little more about him and his thoughts on some of today's topics. I know there's some really good info in there that kind of things I wish I'd known before I was a head coach, you know. And I'm working on setting up next week's interview right now, so hopefully I'll know where that will be soon. But wherever that is, hope you can join us. And until then, remember, if you're lost in Texas, just look for the lights.
I wear that red and white on a Friday night when my hometown takes the field. I say yes sir, yes ma'am, try to be the best man. That's how I feel. No matter where my heart runs, I remember where I came from. Still got that raised up pride, that small town pride, that black, red, white, and